Perfect. Okay, so thanks again, everyone, for being here. I'm very excited to have this talk because we have Lise, who is the head of partnerships at SafetyWing. They are a sponsor of our Build-a-thon. So honestly, we're so grateful to have them to support us in, being able to host wonderful speakers like herself, the workshop speakers that we have. For background and context around her. So she is, again, the head of partnerships at SafetyWing. She works with affiliation and sponsorships with nomadic content creators and community organizers. She also has been living a nomadic lifestyle, so I'm sure we have a lot to learn from her as well. She's done that for more than a decade. She's originally from France, and she kept her passion alive for traveling by working for some of the similar nomadic companies online. Before joining SafetyWing, she also founded two successful companies within the freelance industry, one that had exited and one that is currently active. So not only is she, an entrepreneur, a nomad, a woman, there's just a lot to learn from her, and I'm super excited to have her here. So feel free to take it away, Lise.
Hi, thank you, Amelie. That's great. I think you did an excellent job. Hi, everyone. I'm really happy to meet you today. I'd love to know, I think we have a chat box. So if you want to share where you are from, I'd love to know where you are based currently. As Emily presented, I am originally from France, visiting France right now, but I'm nomadic. I don't have a base. I just spent the last 2 years in Costa Rica, and next I'm heading to Bulgaria and Bali. So I'd love to know where everyone is. Singapore, Hanoi. Wow, that's fantastic. Could I please have the next slide? And I'm going to chat a bit about what we'll cover today. UK, no base, currently in Lisbon. That's awesome. Okay, so all over the world. But it's not too early or too late for anyone, I think, so that's good. So we'll have an hour today, up to an hour together, and I want to make sure we have some time for your question, but feel free to write if you want to, if you want to hear more information about something I present, and I'll look at the chat to make sure I can see your questions as we go. The goal today is to chat a little bit about how to build your career online, a career that is fulfilling for you, whether it is through entrepreneurship or being an employee. I've been both. I am both today as well. And there is oftentimes we see entrepreneurship as the easiest way to become free and be able to be fully nomadic or travel or have flexibility. But I feel like you can have that as an employee as well. So today, I'm going to walk you through my journey after a decade nomading around and working online. And I'll share some tips with you about how you can find opportunities, whether you'd like to find more clients to grow your business online, or whether you'd like to find a remote job or a freelance opportunity. To give you a little bit of background, so I've always worked online. I've never had an office job where I needed to commute and sit down in an office. And it started with my passion for traveling and for boat sports. I love to surf, to longboard, to skate. I'm also a yoga enthusiast, and I fell in love with this tropical lifestyle. But I came from the north of France, where it's really gray. We don't have access to the ocean. There aren't a lot of yoga studios. So when I was studying, I started to study abroad to have this more, I would say, tropical, more of a tropical lifestyle. And while I was a student, it was a bit easier. When you're a student, you can study abroad, you can travel on your holidays. But I started to become very anxious while I was studying, because I was wondering, how is this going to stay the life I live for the next decades? Am I going to have to get a job and stop this lifestyle that I love? Or am I going to be able to find something fulfilling that I can do while I keep traveling? So my initial intention while I was looking at online opportunities was simply to sustain that lifestyle. And quickly I realized that I also needed to find purpose in my job. And so I started to browse online, do some freelance gigs here and there. And I realized that there was this whole world, even 10 years ago, of freelancing, of entrepreneurship online. And that's how I started. I packed my bags. I went to New York. I took some classes in General Assembly. You might know it's a school for tech school. And that's how I had some ideas about companies and got started. So that's one thing that's very important. We oftentimes focus on why we want to start a business. There is a why that is around the value you want to bring to the world, what you can create, what is fulfilling for you to create. And there is also your personal why. And that is really important to remember why you start this journey, because when it gets hard, it's what's going to get you to push and iterate. Looking for opportunities online is very competitive. It's a lifestyle that a lot of entrepreneurs or employees want to have. So you're going to be in competition with many different talented professionals. And even if you do your best and have a really good strategy, sometimes it's not going to be enough. So you need to be persistent over the long run, and having a strong why is really what's going to motivate you. I'll share a few links after. There is a really good TED talk by Simon Sinek around the why, the purpose, that I recommend. I don't know if anyone has watched it. You can let me know in the comment, but it's so transformative as a content, because it helps you figure out your core motivation, what is going to help you succeed. So in my journey, I looked for opportunities, and what came to me was entrepreneurship first. There are many professionals that will first get a job and then quit their job and start freelance. And after that, they will build a business and maybe exit the business once they want to sell it and do something else. I did it the other way around. I started a startup when I was a student. We grew to 5 employees and we exited after 3 years. The startup was in translation, particularly film translation, so very, very niche. And we worked with 700 freelance translators. So we created a platform that was similar to Uber, but for translation. And we got acquired by a translation company that needed that network of freelancers and also needed the technology to rapidly match their translation projects with skilled translators. So very basic idea, very simple, yet it brought a lot of value. And that's how I got started into the freelance economy, which I fell in love with. I fell in love with digital nomads, with freelancers, with entrepreneurship. And I started my second company, which was a content creation business. It's still active. And now it's a passive, I would say more of a passive business that brings in some affiliation earnings, some courses, and product earnings. I also wrote a book. It's like a big book on freelancing, 400 pages. And so that's more of a passive on the side business. And I realized I was a little bit bored with this business once it got up and running, and was looking for a mission, a purpose. And that's when I found SafetyWing. So that's also how your own career can be shaped. Sometimes you think you can only do entrepreneurship because you love your freedom and you don't see yourself working for someone, but then you can fall in love with a company or a project and have the most creative space within that company, which is happening for me at SafetyWing. So today, if you don't know what SafetyWing is, we are a startup backed by Y Combinator, and we're building a global safety net for digital nomads. When you're nomadic, you quickly realize that you don't have your country to rely on for social security, retirement, life and disability insurance, unemployment benefits. And we're bridging that by creating a global infrastructure for nomads. We're even going a bit farther because we're building the first country on the internet, the goal being to end passport privilege. So if you have a passport like mine, the French passport, you can cross any borders. But if you have a passport that is a bit I would say, less welcomed by some countries, then you might get denied traveling, which is really unfair. So I fell in love with that mission. It was connected to my love of freelancing and digital nomad as an industry. And that's how I ended up going from entrepreneurship to employment. I've been there for 6 months now, and it was the best decision of my life. So I'd love to know what you are currently working on as well. What you're working on in terms of business and or employment, and what your goal is, so that I can tailor a little bit the presentation and bring you some ideas about opportunities. You can let me know in the comment if you are an entrepreneur or if you are employed, and if you're looking for a new job or to grow a business with clients. I'd love to go to the previous slide if it's possible. Yes, this one. So oftentimes when you attend a webinar or a course on entrepreneurship or career coaching, there can be an expectation of having tools, like, where do I find clients? Where do I find jobs? And those are fantastic tools, and I'll mention a few at the end, but they are only going to work for you if you have a strong foundation. And that foundation that we will walk through today is going to help you no matter what, whether you're an entrepreneur or a freelancer. It's going to help you have something that you can rely on, whether you're looking for new opportunities, you're looking to hire. That foundation is what's going to sell for you. Everyone can learn how to sell, and I think it's the most useful skill you can have if you're looking for online opportunities, because you need to raise above the noise. There are so many, there are just so much content online. We're drowning in the noise, and you need to stand out. And also, if you approach someone online, you need to convince them that you're worthy of their time in a few seconds. So that foundation, that selling point that you can have, we're going to work on this. And then once you have that base, the tools you will use will only, it's like adding fire to the fuel. It's only going to help you propel you. So we can go to the next slide. Any questions so far? Are we all good? I think we're all good. Okay, so first question to identify the opportunities you could look for online is knowing who you are. And this can sound really cliche, but when I think of the goals I had in the past and who I thought I wanted to be, it was imposed by society a lot. So if I think of the ideal Lise in an ideal world, she would probably be a lawyer and live in a penthouse somewhere. That would be the vision that I could have, followed if I listened to what I thought I wanted, because it's what society told me I should be. But then when I think about who I truly am and what makes me happy, it's community. It's going skating with my girlfriends. It's having time to go to yoga in the morning and just work in the afternoon if I want to. So I realized, looking at what I wanted, that I really could make it happen easily within a few months. And it reduced the overwhelm. So it opened up a whole new world of possibilities, because I lowered the expectation. I went into something that was realistic for me, that was possible within a few months. And it also made me realize what would truly make me happy. And it's very important, especially if you've been in an industry where there are a lot of expectations, whether it could be finance or law, and there is a need to behave a certain way because that's the culture. It might be worth it to spend some time and think about what you truly want, what truly makes you happy. And if you don't really know, think about everything that you do that doesn't, that feels like time is passing by super fast. For example, if you're painting and you realize while you paint that the whole day goes by and you're not looking at your clock, that could be an indication that, that's something that really is important for you. So having that value that foundation of who you are is going to help you identify your values. Values are important. Whenever you meet a potential employer or client, you could have a message and an approach that is really dry, based on facts, or you could have something that comes from the heart and is authentic, and it's what's going to sell for you. It's really important to know who you are so that you can identify your values, and then you can have a really strong message that's going to make the difference. And I remember when I applied for SafetyWing, I saw the job ad on a job board, and I saw that 1,000 people had applied. And I really wanted that job. And I was just mortified I wouldn't have it. So because there were 1,000 people, I thought about sharing. I just didn't share about why I could do the job. A lot of people could have probably done the job right, but I connected on my values. I love the freelance economy. That was my whole life before, because I wrote about it, I worked in it, and my values were personal freedom, very important for me, community, very important for me as well, and adventure. So it made sense for me to work in a travel medical insurance because I wanted people to feel safe when they do adventure things like surfing and skating. So I made sure that came through on my application, and that's how I stood out. Everyone has something. Everyone has a story, something that comes from their heart, important values, and that's not outside of your professional life. It should be inside of it. First, because it's going to make your professional life fulfilling, and then because it's going to help you connect with the right client for you. So what are your values? And also, what do you want to bring to the world, based on those values, based on those interests? So Ariel shared, I'm working on helping aspiring nomads become location independent. Really cool. Through personalized consultation and mentorship. That's wonderful. So you identified what you can bring to the world. Anyone else want to share what they want to bring to their clients, their potential employers, and how they're going to help them? It's very important because if you're looking for clients or even an employer, you're not going to stand out if you just pitch some tools. So let's say you're a coach and you can help people get clarity on what they want for their career. That's not going to be as compelling as saying, I'm a career coach and I can help you find remote opportunities if you want to become a digital nomad so that you can move to the beach and surf every day. That's a different approach that would be based a bit more on selling the dream, selling the transformation. So really think about that as a foundation. And once you have that, any tool you use, whether it's answering to a job ad somewhere or reaching out, cold messaging clients, it's going to stand out. And that's also linked to the mission. So that's the second point on this slide. There is this concept in the hiring world called employer of choice. Employer of choice means that you're not applying just to a bunch of random jobs. You're selecting companies you want to work on because they are super interesting for you. And that's what the hiring managers are looking for. Same for your clients. Pick clients that you really want to help because, again, it's authentic and it's going to shine through. Okay, Penny asked, I'm curious, did you have a substantial amount of savings when you started on this solopreneur journey? Did you give yourself timeline about this journey? Was intrigued about your life journey? Really good question. So I started when I was a student, so I was quite broke. I worked, I didn't work full-time during my studies because I had a scholarship. And so a lot of the trip I did as a student were actually trips on scholarship. I was fortunate in France, we have free education, so I didn't graduate with debt. And that's something I think that's very important, that helped me have the freedom because I didn't have to pay for my student loans or anything. But I wasn't rich. I was really, really broke and I was working minimum wage job. And the first year of being an entrepreneur, I was living with less than $1,000 a month in France, which is really low. So I had 4 roommates and I had a air mattress in New York. So really, I would say I didn't mind the discomfort because I was a student and it felt like an adventure. I didn't feel poor at all. I felt super excited. And I also always made sure I had a spreadsheet with the budget I needed to make things happen. So for my first startup, I went out and pitched the idea, I think to about 100 investors. I ended up getting a grant from a public institution and then a little bit of investors' money as well. So there is no shortage of capital if you want to start a business. The only thing that is going to be hard is having a proof of concept, because it's really rare to get funding if you just have an idea on paper. It's really risky for investors. But if you can make it work, having a job, working in the evening, and trying to have a proof of concept, then you can look for capital if you need the capital to fund your business. And then the other way would be looking for a remote job if you're an employee and want to travel, because then you're just going to have income coming in as you travel and it can fund this lifestyle. So I hope that it helps. Let me know, Penny, if that answered your question. And I can say that a lot of travelers that I meet have they're not the wealthiest individuals. A lot of travelers are on a budget, volunteering and trying to find little gigs online. But it's the common point that I've seen throughout the years is that they have low responsibility as well. So if you have to, care for dependents, whether it's your parents or your children, and you're really tight on money, you might need more time to make this lifestyle happen. But some people do it, but it's more, I would say the privilege for me came from having just to care about myself, being young, having lots of energy, and not having any debt that I needed to pay after school. So I think that's a really, really cool question. It's important to point it out. Emily shared, I want to create a multimedia company that brings forth the story of the amazing women in our community to inspire and share resources, as well to help them connect with others, since this journey can be lonely. I love that idea. I love the project as well. Really, really happy to support it. So once you have your value and you're connected to a mission of something that's you want to bring to the world, whether it doesn't need to be a grandiose mission, it doesn't need to be saving the planet or reducing global warming. Those are very important topics, but for you it could just be to help a few people every year to be happier, and that's already a good mission. So think about what would make you feel fulfilled. That isn't just having a remote opportunity that gives you enough money so that you can live that lifestyle, but also will be helpful for others, because you can only succeed if you bring value to others. That's how you're going to get the clients or the employer. In terms of goal, what do you want? What do you want in terms of tangible metrics? It's also an important question to ask yourself. And that will come with a little bit of planning. So if you just say, I want to quit my job and live from my business. Okay, but how many clients do you need to make it happen? What will you sell to them? Is it realistic? Will you be able to have this many clients? Will you be able to find this many clients within a short time frame? So run the numbers, try to have specific goals, and open your fields of possibilities. So if you realize that your business plan is not working because you would need far too many clients, maybe you can reduce it to 2 or 3 clients and sell them bigger packages. So a bigger retainer if you're selling services, adding more value so that you don't need to go out and look for so many clients at the beginning. So crunching the numbers will really give you a vision. Otherwise, it's kind of going, if you imagine yourself on a boat and you don't have a map or itinerary, you just know where you want to go, but you don't have that mapped out. You're just gonna reach somewhere, but it might not be where you want to go eventually. So goals are important. And the last part would be to know the community that brings you joy. And we forget this, but we spend so much time working in our lives that we need to make sure we enjoy it and that we enjoy the humans we meet. So, for example, when Emily shares about bringing forth the story of the women in the community, she's gonna enjoy being around women like you. If you're helping clients, I think it's important that you actually love that segment of clients you're going after, because you need to be able to connect with them and sometimes some clients might be difficult, so you need to have that desire to help them so that you can push through and really be of service. So let me know if that was helpful. That's your foundation, and that's really what you need to start finding opportunities. We can go to the next slide. And so once you know all of this, you can start building your personal brand. There is a really interesting fact about how I got my job at SafetyWing. So I applied 1,000 candidates where in the process, I made sure my application made shine my values, the fact that SafetyWing was my employer of choice. I was connecting with a mission. I wanted to help nomads. But my personal brand really helped as well. I wrote a book about freelancing, and the hiring manager actually randomly walked in a bookstore in France and found my book and was like, "Oh, that's a candidate I'm interviewing later." So I was also on TV, shared on LinkedIn, had a few connections in common with other professionals that were connected with SafetyWing. So it made it easier for me to have that personal brand in the nomadic and freelancing space. It gave me a little bit more, I would say, of attention so that I could at least have a foot in the door and get a chance to interview. Of course, when you're starting, you might not have any elements of personal branding that relates to your current business. And the best way to do so is to start with content. Content is going to give you an excuse to talk to people and network, and it's also going to showcase that you are an expert in your domain. An example of building your personal brand could be to start a podcast on a topic. And of course, there are so many podcasts out there. It doesn't mean that this podcast will not be useful. First of all, there is always room for more. And also that podcast can become your best excuse to outreach to your dream clients or dream employers, asking if you can interview them, and then have that podcast be your portfolio, something you can showcase. So if you want to start a business in yoga, for example, you want to be a traveling yoga teacher, you want to do retreats all around the world, and you have nothing in your personal brand. You just have your yoga teacher certification, that's it. Maybe a start for your personal brand could be to find your angle. Maybe your angle will be that you're doing yoga in tropical places, and then you will just interview 10 other yoga teachers based all around the world and ask them about anything yoga related and tie that to a destination. So that's an angle. Then you can interview yoga studio owners and potentially become a guest yoga teacher there, and also access their own audience if they share to their network. So it's just a simple little example of how you can start building your personal brand. If you just reach out to people and ask to chat with them, chances are that you're not going to get the opportunity. Professionals are really demanded sometimes. If you think about, just to give you an example, in partnerships at SafetyWing, we get dozens of emails per day of people asking if we can jump on a call. And if we don't have any information, we cannot humanly accept all of those requests. So if you imagine trying to get the attention of a client or an employer, having a personal brand and having something that can be a bit more than just a message asking for their time is going to be a game changer. Another way to have someone's attention is to show that you can help them. So instead of you asking for their time, you're showing them that they'll learn from it and they'll gain something. And it could be as simple as outreaching. And instead of saying, "Hey, can we chat? I think we could have a collaboration." It could be to say, "Hey, I've noticed on your website that you do this specific event soon. I have a few ideas about attendees that could join." Or if you're, let's say, a web designer, it could be to say, "Hey, I've noticed that your website has a few elements that could really be added to bring more value, bring more clients to your current prospect, to your current funnel." So almost putting yourself in the shoes of a consultant, giving a little bit of value is going to open doors for you too. Let me know in the comment if you already have a personal brand or if you think you have a personal brand. And I'll also share the link with you, but a great writer and influencer on the topic of personal brand is Seth Godin. He's a self-proclaimed marketing guru, but he's really, really good. He mentioned that the personal brand is, something, of course, it's something you build over time, but it's also what is going to follow you all throughout your career and sell for you. So whether you're going from entrepreneurship to employment back and forth, or think you're just going to be self-employed for the rest of your life, have some foundation on how you want to be known and presented as, and that's your personal brand. We can go to the next slide, please. And yes, so back to my personal brand link with SafetyWing. It really, I give you this example because I think for me, I was always wondering, because I do so many different things. I have so many different passions. I've worked on very different businesses, but I found the common denominator for all of those businesses, which is the freelance economy. I was not intentional from day one that it is what I wanted to do, but it's looking back when I looked, at the job description at SafetyWing, I looked back and I thought, what did I have in my previous experiences that could really bring value to this current one, to this opportunity? How can I present myself so that everything I've done up to this day makes sense and is just, aligned towards this new career opportunity? Every time you apply to a new job and you try to find new clients, you can think about everything you've done before that potential job or client, and think about how those projects connect to this new opportunity. There is always something that you've done that can be connected. It's all about how you present yourself. So SafetyWing, when I looked at the job description and when I joined, I really wanted to help the nomads, but apart from being a digital nomad, I was mostly working in the freelance economy, and I thought creatively about how those things could be linked for partnerships. Because I was a content creator, I put that forward and I said, hey, I am a content creator. I wrote a book. I know how content creators think and what they need. So if I become head of partnerships, I will know what they want to have from us to build a successful partnership. And that's how I tied that past experience to the job application. And so remember that every opportunity is going to require that you do a little bit of adjusting. It's never, even your resume, if you send a resume with the same title all the time, it's not going to work as well. Of course, it takes more time to personalize every approach, but it's also, if you mass email or mass apply to a lot of opportunities, it means that you're not really interested in that specific opportunity. You're just looking for a client or just looking for a job, and you're not going to get great fulfilling opportunities from that approach. So I would suggest really to identify dream clients for you, even if they're not hiring, even if they're not they've not expressed that they need help. Identify who you want to work with, and then personalize your approach and make sure they see in your past experiences that you have a common, a shared experience that could really help them. Let's go to the next slide, please. And that ties to going the extra mile. So when we think about going the extra mile, I think a lot of people do it wrong because they start to perceive work as having to be excruciating to work. And it's not. Going the extra mile doesn't mean that, you're working day and night and bleeding your eyes in front of a computer screen. It's just about shifting your approach, and instead of thinking about you and what you want and just what your skills, you put yourself in the shoes of your ideal client or employer. Imagine you're that person. What would you want to read? What would you want to see from a job candidate or a potential service provider, or something you would buy? You would want to feel understood, and you would want to feel acknowledged as a human or as a company. You don't want to be spammed. You want to feel like the person that asked for your time has made the effort to look up the information. And that's something that I've seen when I review sometimes resume for hiring as well, or what I've seen when I'm being pitched some ideas. There is a huge difference between someone that took the time to looking for about information regarding what we do and thought about an idea of how we could work together or what they could do to help, versus someone that just present their numbers and present what they have, but that doesn't tell me how they can help me personally, and that doesn't tell me why they want to work together. So going the extra mile can be really easy. I've seen some very creative things. When I applied to SafetyWing, I did a little presentation of what I would do if I had the job, and that really helped me get the opportunity. Basically, I sat down and I said, okay, this is my pitch. And in 10 minutes, here is what I would do if I got hired. And of course, you can do that for a big job, but it takes some time. So you might only apply to 2 to 3 jobs a week, but it's okay, because again, you're trying to go for quality. It's the same for clients. If you have a business model where you need to find larger accounts like service provider or freelancing with big companies, you don't need to go after 100 companies a week, just a few, and targeted messages could help. Look up the information and try the product or the service beforehand. For example, if you're working in tech and you're looking for a job at a software company, the minimum would be to look up a demo or create an account and try the product. And so if you show up to the interview, you can chat about your experience. Those are tiny little things that go the extra mile, and you're going to stand out from anyone else, because I can tell you, I've looked at 3,000 applications in the past months for various positions, and very little people do it. So if you do it, you're almost guaranteed to stand out. Let's go to the next slide. So to summarize, the magic recipe to find any opportunity, whether you are looking for a remote job or building an online business. Knowing who you are is really important. It's very cliche, but again, it's going to help you push through in difficult times, and it's going to help you think about your values and be authentic. Think about the value you can bring to someone. Clients and employers are only going to hire you or pay you if you bring something to them. And who needs you? Who needs that value? Because you could even offer the best service in the world. If you're pitching it to the wrong person that does not need it, you're not going to sell. Finally, once you have that foundation, how will those clients or employers know about you, about your value? How will they know that you exist? That's really important. Whether it's sales or marketing as a strategy, it's important that you have at least one idea of how they will know about you. And that's how you'll find online opportunities. We can go to the next slide. And this is now when I share resources, because I know, I talked about foundations, but there are also resources, and you might want to have some ideas on how you can find clients or employers. Social media is very important. It's where, especially if you're looking for a lot of small clients, if you have something like a media, a coaching business, consulting, social media is important to grow an audience of potential clients. And you can do that by picking a social media where your ideal client is hanging out, then learning about how to become visible there, the type of content you should create, creating content that is interesting for your ideal audience, and then connecting, networking. There are entire courses about social media, and oftentimes professionals will ask, where should I be? Should I be on TikTok? Should I be on LinkedIn? The answer depends on your goals and who you're trying to exchange with. So that are strategies that will depend on what you're trying to do. We have Instagram, Nomad Cities with SafetyWing, and if you're looking for some tips about being a nomad, you can find us there and network with us. And sometimes we post about our job opportunities there too. Many companies will actually use social media to promote their openings if you're looking for a job. So I would recommend you follow your favorite companies, whether it's on LinkedIn, Instagram, or Facebook. That's also how you can have access to opportunities. Another resource is online education. You're here today. Keep attending and being a part of communities that bring you value through educations, whether it's webinar, podcast, blog, courses. On the topic of building a business remotely, SafetyWing has a website called Building Remotely. I'll make sure to get the link to you as well. And it's we have a podcast and a list of articles around creating a business online, whether it's a startup or a smaller freelance business. And we also have a list of companies hiring remotely, where you can have a look and maybe find your next job. Job boards are super interesting for remote work. That's how I found my job at SafetyWing. Many freelancers and employees can find opportunities on those job boards. Sometimes they are dedicated to remote work, like remoteok.io. It's probably the biggest. But it's very competitive. So sometimes you might have more luck going to regular job boards and looking for the remote filter. There is now a filter on LinkedIn about companies hiring remotely. Same for Indeed, Monster, any big job board is going to have that filter. And finally, a very important resource to have as an entrepreneur, if you're going down the entrepreneurship road, it's a sales funnel. So having a strategy and put it and implement it to make sure you become visible in front of the right customer. And so that funnel starts with visibility, and then converting that audience into clients. It's called a sales funnel. It can be inbound or outbound. Inbound means your clients find you. Outbound means you message them so that they know about you. And of course, that strategy needs to be tailored to the type of business you have and how many clients you need to have. So yeah, that's it for today. We can go to the next slide in case you'd like to ask any follow-up question and connect. So SafetyWing has an Instagram called Nomad Cities. I'm on Instagram myself, Liz Sliman. And you can also, if you have a content creation business or an online community, feel free to become an ambassador. You can message me. I run partnerships, so I can point you out to the right direction, but we work with content creators and entrepreneurs in the nomadic space, and we would love to hear about you if you're one of them. So thank you so much. Let me know if you have any question in the comment. I think we have some time. Emily, do we have a few minutes in case we have questions?
Yeah, so we have 10 minutes left before the next session. So if anyone has questions, feel free to unmute yourself or add in the comments below. Yeah.
Was it helpful? Did you learn what you thought you would learn today? I would love to hear your feedback because it's my first time running this presentation particularly. So I'm eager for feedback as well.
I see a heart emoji from Knock, which is a good sign. I think for me personally, it showed me that like nomads are multi-potentialites, or was it right? Multi-potentialites. Like you started businesses, you wrote a book, you work at partnerships. Like I feel like there seems to be a type of personality that nomads are, which is like you have various skills and you have to be very resourceful. So I think it's just inspiring to me. Yeah.
Thank you for that feedback. It's very interesting when we look at data. 65% of digital nomads are self-employed entrepreneurs, freelancers. It makes sense because it's also a professional path that has more freedom attached to it. So it's easier to travel when you're self-employed and can decide to move. But I think it also comes with the personality you need to be nomadic. It's I don't know if anyone is nomadic already, but it requires a lot of adaptability. You need to adapt all the time, and it can be draining if you're not happy with changing lifestyle and the way you do things regularly. And for entrepreneurs, it's what it's what we like. We like to change ideas, to innovate, to even sometimes change career. And yeah, that's I think that's why a lot of nomads will be multi-potential and have usually really short time spent in a business or with an employer. Usually we see 2 to 3 years here and there. It's kind of what I've noticed with nomads around the world.
Thanks, Lise. Sorry, I am so embarrassed. I don't know how to properly pronounce your name. If you don't mind, educate me on that, because I don't want to get that wrong.
No worries. I have the same. Every time I introduce myself, it's a Lise. It's a French name.
Yeah, I think it was a really great presentation. I really like a lot of the tips, very useful. Obviously, you have a very deep understanding of the freelance economy and how to, get different opportunities, and like how to set up your personal branding. So like one piece of advice that really stand out to me is that you talk about that a lot of professionals, they could be very demanding, even though like when you reach out to them, if you don't have a compelling message, it's really hard to get their time to speak with you. And I definitely have experienced that, because I quit my job in finance, so I'm kind of in a career transition now, and starting my business, trying to providing consulting services to people who want to become digital nomads. So I try to reach out to people who even has identified themselves as aspiring digital nomads, just by kind of looking up keywords, on LinkedIn or Instagram. I had some success, but even for those people who are avid travelers, if they have a job that tied them down, if they have a pet that tied them down, it's even hard to kind of get them on the call. Even if you say provide the consulting for free as you're kind of just starting. And I think it's very inspiring for me that I should kind of reflect on my message, how can I help you kind of become digital nomad versus, what I'm doing and, what I know in the past. So yeah, there are a lot of other tips I forgot to jot down, but yeah, thanks so much for sharing this with us.
Thank you so much, Ariel. I think it's definitely needed in terms of helping people become nomads. So I think there is a market for you. I think also on top of the messaging, there is maybe having a more defined persona, because anyone wanted to become an aspiring nomad might not be relatable enough. But then if you, for example, you focus on corporates who want to quit, and then you help them quit and find an online opportunity, that's like a really clear messaging. Another messaging could be empty nesters. They're empty nesters. They want to quit their job because they want to start traveling. They're not ready for a retirement. So having an idea of who you want to help, it could be women, millennial women who travel a lot and they just want to travel full time and are looking to shift with their careers. Trying to understand who is your ideal client, what problem you solve with them, and then making them understand the transformation they'll have from working with you, where they start, what they get at the end, is probably going to also help on top of your messaging. And then making sure you create content online so that they can see a bit about that value before committing to a call.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much.
Yeah. You're welcome. That's really a cool business idea. I love it.
Okay, I think we have one more time, or we have time for one more question. If there's anyone else who has anything they want to ask, please.
Hey Liz, I have one question, but it's kind of not applicable to digital business because same like you, I'm in yoga and 2S, and I'm working as an aerial yoga instructor now. Because of the nature of aerial yoga, I don't think it's possible to do like online, to get clients online, because they need to be physically available at the studio. So I was wondering, like, how can I brand myself other than doing contents on Instagram and all those? How do we get more people interested in our business or this branding in particular?
So if I understand correctly, you want to drive client to a location, or do you want to be able to travel and be location independent as a yoga instructor?
I guess both questions, since
Yeah.
I'm not really focusing on being remote, but it's a question I can think about in the future.
I think that's how you're gonna get clarity first about what you're trying to achieve. So what is, the intention behind that yoga component of your business? Like, if you want to have people come to your yoga studio, it's about, maybe digital marketing so that they find you when they search online. People that are within that perimeter can come to you, because there is a small chance that people would travel from all around the world for a specific studio. But what they could do is travel for retreats as well. So that could be another business idea of you branding yourself, creating content around that practice and how you personally approach it as a teacher. And then having those moments where people can come and meet you in specific locations for a retreat could also be part of the business. So, and both can coexist. You can be, a resident yoga teacher in one location, organize yoga retreats in other location, and then build your personal brand around that. But maybe the core question here is, what do you want to do? So that then you can craft a strategy around it. Because I feel like your question is more like, what opportunities could I leverage? And there are so many in the yoga space. So I think knowing what you want to do will help you then have the right tools for it.
That's true. I got to find the value, what value I can give in the first place. Thank you.
You're welcome. And also what you want to do, because you can bring so much value. But what is, if you personally want to travel the world, you can craft a business around that. But if you don't want to be remote all the time, that's also a, important piece of your foundation for your business.
Awesome. Cool. Okay. I think it's almost 8 o'clock. So I think we're just going to wrap up now. But Lise, thank you so much for the talk. It's been fantastic. There are links in the chat, everyone. Please connect with her on LinkedIn. Check out the links that she's mentioned. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's perfect. There you go. And then Lise, if there's anything that you want us to send out, we'll do it on behalf of you via email to our community, because there's a few folks who weren't able to join today's session, but the recording will be redistributed. But thanks again so much for your time and for, talking to us for this intimate chat today.
Thank you so much for having me, and it was lovely to meet everyone. I hope you have a great remaining of the webinar series. It looks really fantastic.
Thank you. Awesome. Okay. And then for everyone on, we're going to just jump on to the networking session now with Danica. So see you guys there. Thanks again, Lise. And see everyone soon.
Guys.
Thank you. Bye.